Burn the boat in the kingdom, can't turn around. We're lighting up the night, shaking up the ground. Excuses and flames, yeah, we're breaking free. One big fire, this is our legacy.
Let's go.
What's up, baby?
Welcome to the One Big Fire podcast, episode 54. Feels like way more than 54 episodes. I don't know if that number's right, but
I think we did One Big Fire podcast for 8 years that we didn't count into this new rendition. But yeah, man, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, man.
Good stuff, man. We put all our fires together and make one big fire. It's a lot better, man. It's the old African proverb. You can go if you want to go far, or if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Well, and that's what we've built, and that's what we're continuing to build in this One Big Fire. We didn't think it would be any hotter than we got it, but it is heating up.
We've been stoked in that fire. 9,573. That's just my org, right? So you add that, all of Honey Badger Nation, 14,000 something agents. We appreciate everybody out there, and we're just working hard for you, man. We're making all kinds of cool stuff. AI is just incredible. Some of the things that we're working on, the things we're able to do that would have taken 12 months to do, you can do in 2 days. We can talk a little bit about that too if you want. But yeah, some breakthroughs, baby. I love it.
And you mentioned the 9,500. That's just showing in your organization,
right?
But it's actually the real number of active honey badgers is over 26,000 now, which is really like hard to wrap your brain around. Agents who are plugging in, leveraging our systems from Honey Badger Nation to Funnel Pilot, and soon here Cooperate, which we'll share a little bit here a little bit later in the podcast. But yeah, man, lots of headlines this past week that's been going on. Rates dropped and then they went back up again 0.5 point. So we're seeing a lot of agents that are telling their clients like, hey, the rates are going to be coming down soon. And honestly, I was probably one of the people that was hoping that we're all hoping that the rates are going to come down, but it was all basing off of this war, which we have zero control over. And so the question is, the market is starting to pick up because the pending sales have been going up for the first time in a few years now. Comparatively, we're seeing more going under contract, even though we had that rate bump, but agents are still out there just kind of waiting for these external things that they have no control over.
Right.
The market's not dead. We're starting to see some pressure coming downward on pricing in certain markets, but not all markets. That's why, dude, this is like one of the most confusing things to talk about too, because it's almost like all the trends have been thrown out the window.
Right.
And we're, pending sales are at their highest, I think, since 22.
Yep.
And so buyers are out there, but they got picky and they're getting more picky they're not buying the overpriced homes. Those are sitting now, which is different than what we saw back in 22, 23. But, rates are still matter. Yep.
Look. These cats stink so bad. So we have 5 cats now. So
God,
yeah, cats are somewhat, they take care of themselves. Kittens are cute, man. I'm not gonna lie. These little guys are pretty cute. They really are. But I lost a bet. My wife been trying to get more kittens the algorithm is just overloaded with cats every day showing me these cats. And so I was playing basketball with Riggs. I was beating him like 13-2 and we didn't bet. And so he comes back. It's like 13-10. And he's like, are we playing for a kitten? Cause he wanted a kitten. And now he's on it. Cause they went to the dang pet, the pet store and there's these kittens and everything or whatever. And so I said, yeah, we can play for a kitten. I didn't say anything. I just assumed I was going to beat him. Well, he hits like 3 threes in a row at the end, miracle shots, and beats me. And I don't let my kids win. Like that just don't happen. Like he ain't never beat me. Like not really. He's beat me. He has beat me once probably before, with kind of some miracle shots that I just didn't think he had a chance to come back and win, but he beat me. And so they go up there and there's a kitten. Well, the kitten has a brother, so they want both kittens. And I'm like, this is where, ayahuasca, I'm like, listen, if y'all want more cats, get more cats. I just don't want to deal with it. I'm not cleaning up after them. I'm not doing anything. I'm not paying for any of this. Riggs had negotiated to pay for everything. They already had their shots, this, that, the other. He actually had a good sales pitch for this. But anyways, he won. So and then they get there and they bring 2 home. Now we have 5 cats. Dude, I'm like, this is now we're borderline again, like literally. I think the city of Frisco would get involved if they knew. Like, it's that level of fucking animals we have at our house right now, dude. It's ridiculous, dude. Anyway,
and you said they smell. So that's where my heart mind
they
is
fart
drawn.
all the time. They don't smell other than when they fart. They fart all the time. I don't know what that's about. But yeah, but you know, day one, that the one good thing about cats, day one, we showed them the litter box. Now they play in that motherfucker. They'll go in there and just play around in it, but they go start using that thing and they're potty trained. Like, they're not like dogs, dude. You don't gotta, it's not like have accidents. They just started using that thing day one. Like, yeah, this is where we'll shit, I don't know. But yeah, anyways, I thought I would share that with everybody. Cats are calling.
I don't know where the lesson in that is, other than
yeah.
I got a hard no.
Yeah,
I don't believe I could ever be influenced
Yeah.
to get cats. I'm allergic to them, but
yeah,
so is Courtney. But at the
That's
same
good
time,
reason.
when I come over and stay at your house, miraculously, I'm not sneezing or anything. Like, I don't, my eyes don't bug out. So Amber must be, I know that she's a clean freak and loves a clean house and keeps things spick and span. So that must be the reason why I'm not having a reaction. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
You might be pushing it.
We're gonna have to build a casita for you because, dude, there's 5 of them. There's one everywhere. There's always one close by. Anyway, back to this marketplace we can't predict, and that makes no sense, right?
like 5 cats makes no sense.
Yeah, I think that's maybe what got me on that. Can't make sense of this.
Things you just can't explain. Like, for instance, this listing data war that's going in Chicagoland.
Yeah.
This MLS that's called MRED, which is basically the largest MLS, I believe, in the Chicagoland area, is handing Zillow a little smack here and saying, we're going to take all of our listings. We're going to just basically stop our feed to Zillow Group because Zillow's picking and choosing. And of course, they're in this battle with Compass. And, from what we can determine here, that would be the MLS is now bending the knee to Compass in this scenario. And saying, I agree with you, and we're going to take it away from Zillow. Of course, Zillow filed their own lawsuit against we'll see where any of that goes. And then, Rocket versus the UWM, Jay. I know you saw that come through. These mortgage giants are fighting over past clients. And it's actually a great lesson when you think about, like, okay, what is the underlying lesson for an agent? Does this lawsuit really matter to an agent? Probably not. But what does matter in this story is the fact that they're fighting over past clients. And most agents we've met know they let their databases rot. So, which is what this is one of the core functions that we focus on with Funnel Pilot.
Yep.
And soon to be Honey Badger Lending with Cooperate, is that your database is where all the money's at. That first transaction is just the beginning of that relationship. It should not end there. And Rocket knows this and sold a huge book of, I believe it was servicing to UWM. And they found that UWM was texting and emailing and calling all of them for refis. Now, I don't know if there were, what the language of those agreements were and the purchase and all that, but they're getting sued. If anything, it just kind of speaks to the importance of you taking care of your database. Like, if this doesn't tell you that your database is everything, and we were to sell that database, what is it worth?
Let's dive into that for a second. So I was up. This was Friday night or Saturday night, and I'm doom scrolling before going to bed, and Ryan Young from Fellow makes a post. And it was just bait, right? So he's like, I just want to give props to Zillow. They've really, for accountability, this and that and the other.
Yeah, I saw that post.
Yeah,
I had to read it twice.
I said, listen, I said that that's not, if you're going to say that the accountability of Zillow is a reason why you should pay 41% of your commission to, to a platform for acquiring a client. And it was a long answer to his post, but to summarize, like, if you really wanted to make a case now, he replied back to my post. He's like, yeah, but 97% of agents don't know what lifetime value is, and they don't know what customer acquisition cost is. I said, but if you're going to make a case for Zillow, if somebody says, hey, I'm scaling my business using Zillow, you have to understand the lifetime value of a client. That's the only logical reason that you could say, yeah, I'll give up 41% of my commission, because I know that the lifetime value of that client relationship is going to be over the next 10 or 20 years is going to be one referral a year if I make a raving fan. And you have data that shows, like, most real estate agents think the first sale is, that's it. You got paid. That was the deal. No, that's 4% of the lifetime value potential of that client. If they do business with you 3 times over 21 years, they refer you someone every year, that one person in your database, instead of being worth 10 grand, is worth what was the math on that? 200 grand, right? So
hey, can you bust that one? I think that's worth repeating what you just said.
Right. A client relationship,
the 4% part. Yeah.
So the client relationship, if they do one transaction with you and never transact again, they're worth 10 grand to you, less 41%. Right. So that transaction was $6,000, and the lifetime value of that customer for you was $6,000. If you understood lifetime value of a client, and that client, you focus on making a raving fan that does business with you and again in the future, and we're going to use 7 years as the average. They do business with you 3 times over the 20-year or 21 years, but they refer you someone. Everybody knows this, but they don't track it. Like, yeah, I've got people that I didn't know it either. Like, I had the guy that referred me 4 or 5 deals in 1 year was my number one person that referred me the most business. I didn't even know it before until I started tracking it. Well, that was Dave DeBaca. He was my painter. He painted a bunch of houses. He wasn't telling me he was referring me, but when I tracked who do I need to thank for sending me your business, and his name came up as the number one referrer in my database, and I'm like, holy crap, he's worth a lot more to me than just the average person, right? Well, 1 referral a year from somebody who's a raving fan. So you go above and beyond, you build a relationship, and you create a raving fan. That if you do the math on this, $10,000 commission, that's a $330,000 commission or average sales price. And the lifetime value of that is $200,000 for that customer. And if you understand, you're willing to give away $4,000 to Zillow because you understand how to extract the $200,000 over a 20-year period of time, then I would say, yeah, I understand why you do that. Those are the really smart people that are using Zillow and scaling their business. The problem lies in this. And it's the same reason that a real estate brokerage can't say, hey, when you do a deal, I'm going to get all of this future value from the deals that you do in the future. Because if the agent leaves, you don't retain the customer relationship as the brokerage. The problem with scaling your team is the same problem. You're giving that relationship up, that relationship value to your buyer's agent, who might not be here 3 years from now. And if they do a good job and maintain that lifetime value of the relationship, if they're a good agent on your team and they do a good job with that client and they leave that team, the odds that they're going to come back to you because you don't own the relationship personally is you're less likely to maintain or to extract the lifetime value of that customer. And that's the point I was making, is like, if first of all, everybody should go back and understand that and listen to this probably 3 times so that they can really get the value out of what's being said here. But if you understand the lifetime value of a customer, then you might be willing to do a deal for free to get a customer, if you understand lifetime value and you extract the lifetime value of that customer. So early in a career, if you're an agent, you take any deal that you can get at any commission, because if you do 10 deals for free and those 10 people, you make raving fans and you do a great job, and 5 of them send you a referral next year, then there's more value than that first transaction. In other businesses, it's called, the cost to acquire a customer. And you might be willing to do it for free. No different than Walgreens used to do photo development. Why did they do photo development? Because if you went to Walgreens, when they moved Walgreens, this is in the book Good to Great, but it's a fascinating story. It was like when Jay Abraham was teaching me all the things about the 3 ways to grow the business. And this example is one of them in the book Good to Great, that they moved Walgreens to the hard corners. And I remember in Lawton, Oklahoma, there was a Walgreens in the middle of the block, and they tore it down and they built one on the corner. And I was like, why in the world would you move it half a block away? It was a hard corner. The reason why is because access is easier. More people will come through. Well, they also put photo development in. If you remember, and I remember as a kid going into, my parents going into Walgreens, dropping off the photos and then coming back, whatever, a couple days later and picking them up. On average, that person that drops off photos will buy $35 worth of product in a Walgreens when they drop it off, and they'll do it again 2 days later when they go pick it up. That's frequency of purchase. You're getting more, a customer coming back more often. That's one way to increase the value of a business. And in real estate, we don't think of it that way because we think of that one sale and then we'll never see them again, and you're too busy chasing the next deal. But if you really think about the referral as one of the extensions of doing a great job, getting them to send you a referral, that's another angle for thinking about it. And so, but that's just one of the examples. But Walgreens lost money on photo development. They didn't make money; they lost money. It was a loss leader to get you to come in the store to get the average customer lifetime value up. And that's, again, I think in real estate we often have time blinders on, and we're not thinking of like how other businesses think, but this is how other businesses operate as they think of lifetime value. It's the most important metric you can look at. It's the reason why we're at EXP. We know the lifetime value of an agent is higher here than if you were paying me a coaching fee, or you were paying me for a platform fee, or for a technology fee, or for whatever one-time thing that you pay me for, or $97 a month. I'm going to make more off the lifetime value of an agent who tells another agent who tells another agent at EXP than I would in any other business model that I've had. Yeah. Fascinating. But it stuck to me in that post. I was like, well, if you were to make the case, this is how you would make it.
And the part that I don't think was mentioned in Ryan's post was that there's a look back. So someone just told me this yesterday because they were fighting with Zillow to get a what's it called, a Flex account. They wouldn't give them one, and they were kind of talking about that. And he goes, "Did you know that they have like a 2-year look back? Meaning like those leads you're talking about. Okay, everything you're saying is right, Jay, but okay, they pay a 40% referral fee to Jim and Sally Jones. Well, after that, they complete that sale. If Jim and Sally Jones does another deal the next, I don't know if it's 12 or 24 months, but it's between 12 and 24 months. Zillow still wants their referral fee on that as well. So there has to be a time period after the closing is closed before Zillow unshackles the cuffs of their referral fee that they're wanting to get. And your point is spot on, because we know that the number one threat for a team is their top producers. They're ones that are selling the most amount of real estate. And there's two types. You have your hunter and your farmer. And the hunter, they're just, I mean, look, as a team leader, you love the hunters.
Yeah.
Hunters aren't taking care of any, they're not developing that relationship. They're going to eat what they kill. They're out there hunting, and they're going to get another one. And they may even be your top producer, right? Year after year after year after year. You love them because they're not worried about the relationship, and you have a really good chance of getting to that 20-year lifetime value, a better chance. Now, your other top producer, and I've had a couple of these, they actually do focus. They're very relational. Yes, they're hunters. They're out there hunting, but they're farming. And then once they catch their prey, if you will, they're farming that, and they're nurturing it, and they're putting fertilizer on it, and they're inviting them into events. They're putting them on a really great, follow-up campaign. Yep. And I want you to talk about, since we're going down this rabbit hole, and it's super valuable, I think, to the audience, is that hug fields. I remember, it was Infusionsoft we were using to track the hug fields. And I just want one nugget. If you could just give us one nugget here on what you would do with those. Like, for instance, the one guy that you had, I think it was the painter. He was a huge OU fan, right?
Oklahoma Sooner fan.
Yeah. So just kind of share a little bit about how you tightened that relationship with that, your number one referrer that you didn't even know was referring you, like what you actually did different with that guy or your segmented list that you would with all the rest of the database?
Yeah, well, the ironic thing was once I started tracking it, I could start taking different actions towards the people that were sending me more business, right? So if you were going to invest in anything in your business, you would invest in the best relationships of the people that send you the most business. So it enabled us to communicate more regularly, thanking them for the referral, not just if the deal did, not just if we got the deal, even if we didn't get the deal, we wanted to reward the action of referring us. So that was that. And we went from 22%. I thought I was doing a good job. I thought, yeah, I get referrals. I must be doing a good job. Way off because I had no idea. I was so busy. I got so good at which the whole point of this conversation is when you get really good at acquiring new relationships and generating a new deal for a super low cost, which is what we're world class at, you don't even really worry about like, yeah, I'm getting referrals. I don't feel like I'm leaving meat on the bone. Let me go get 10 new relationships and do 10 more deals. That becomes so easy that you kind of forget to look at where the real value is and what you've built. And that was my big aha coming back from this event. And we started focusing on it. And I went from 22% repeat referral ratio to 48% in 1 year. We put, client parties in place. We started tracking. We started asking every person that did business with us. We had people call and list their house all the time. I thought it was marketing. It wasn't marketing because I would ask, the first question, what marketing might you have seen that, may have influenced your decision to call us? They would always put billboards or this or that, radio, whatever. We stopped asking that question in the beginning and we asked, who do we need to thank for sending us your business? And they would give me names of people that were oftentimes in my database, sometimes not in my database, people that I'd never had done business with. And so, they were people that maybe listened to the radio and they're like, you should call this guy or whatever. Right. But in doing that and then starting to collect the hug fields, which we adopted from Jack Mitchell's book, rest in peace, Jack Mitchell, Hug Your Customer, which was leveraging the McKay 66, which is all these lists of things that you can gather from a person to, that are, personal information. It's just
like if you were to just give us like 5 or 6, like what would you say if someone's starting out like, okay, yeah, I'm going to start doing that in my database? What would you say?
Well, yeah, today I would use AI and I would have AI go and do all of this for me. We were trying to do this. If you remember, we were using Plans Plus as a database 20 years ago. And we were switching from database to database, trying to find a way to capture and then automate a personally relevant communication plan to our best customers, the people that refer the most often, that gave us the highest net promoter score. Again, we were doing things nobody was doing back then, but we were net promoter scoring every client. And if you weren't a raving fan, a 10, then our goal was to communicate over that period of time after closing to get you to a 10. So that, and again, you're going to have your 7s and 8s that are never going to go out and be raving fans and tell the world about you, but you don't want to leave it up to chance. So anybody that's a detractor, we would try to solve that problem and at least get them to a neutral where they weren't talking bad about us. And anybody that wasn't a 9 or 10, we would try to, see if there was anything we could do to get them to a 9 or 10. And so there was just a concentrated focus because we understood the lifetime value of that person. If they sent us a referral every year was cheaper than going and creating that new relationship that we used to do through marketing. So it allowed me to lower the expenses in marketing that we had and harness the people that were and just reward and invest back into. So we bought, like for Dave DeBacca, we bought him for Christmas that year. We bought him tickets to an OU game. We invested much more in Dave DeBacca as a way of saying thank you. And so it's not just about, hey, get somebody a gift basket at closing. It's really about, and I used to do this back in the day. And this is, like all the things that you do that you're like, man, no wonder doesn't work or that didn't work. When you start learning, you're doing your 10,000 hours and deep learning from people like Jay Abraham. I used to mail, the first thing I ever mailed was like some salesman called me and they had magnets for refrigerators. And I was like, cool, let's mail them to all these people, right? I don't even remember what the list was. It wasn't a very big list. It was the people that I knew. I mailed all of them OU magnets for their refrigerator. There's some people on that list that I know were not OU fans, and I still mailed them an OU. Like that's not a good strategy, right?
Yeah,
And
misalignment.
Misalignment. So when we would capture hug fields, like if I was walking through someone's house, I would see this type of wine that they drink, or I would see that they had a room that was Texas Longhorns, God forbid, or whatever, right? And so we were capturing where they went to college. We were capturing what their interests were, and just the things that if you're going to communicate back to someone over time, and you know they love golf, you send them. And there was a website that used to do this back in 2009, and somebody bought it and killed it, but it was badass. There was one called Stumble Upon that you could pick certain things like activities and things that you like, and then you hit stumble and it would just and it would pull up a random website with something cool, golf or whatever. And I was like, that's what we're trying to do, but we're trying to customize the communication to the client based on their interests, right? So it's not just about you want to communicate and be professionally relevant, but you want to be also personally relevant. That's the relationship. That's where the relationship is in the personal, not in the professional. And so now today with AI, the ability for you to go scrub everything about them and learn everything that you need to, and then create a customized, personally relevant communication plan to your past clients is a real thing you can do. And we've been trying to do it for 20 years. I went from one database to another. We just said it was just way too manpower heavy to do. And today you can do it. And I think most people are just not thinking this way, but this is where you strengthen that relationship. You earn if you want to earn the lifetime value of a customer, this is one of the most important things you could do. You should go through your entire, and I'm sure Fellows doing some level of this, but you should go through your entire database, your top 100 people in your database, and you should collect all of the hug fields you can, and then you should be communicating to them. If you know somebody loves golf, for instance, I know a lot of people who love golf that don't live here in Frisco. Now, next year, I know this only because Ray Schwartz from Puerto Rico said, "Hey, I'm coming to see you next year for the PGA." I should be communicating that to the people that that I respect. Hey, man, you should come to the PGA next year, right? Like, yeah, that's a good reason for you to. It's just you're reaching out. You think, oh, they're thinking of me, right? Like that's the type of. But you can have AI do this and never touch it again, and that's it's not as personal if you don't know what it's saying. But you want to. I think you want to be communicating and being personally relevant and staying in contact with people that you don't ever. I think about this. This comes, this is like back to the whole ayahuasca experience, like, and even going back to, to Jim's funeral, and like what a good human he was, what a good friend he was, even though he uses voice to text to send all of his messages and they were always this long. I always felt like Jim was just like overly communicative, right? Yeah. And I was like, man, I could be better. There's people that I think about all the time, but I'm not reaching out to them and touching base. Jay Abraham, like he's one of my mentors. I haven't reached out to him in forever. Why? Because I don't have a good system for it. And so, I think that if you really took that to heart and realized that in life, the most important things you have are these relationships that, if you're going to get a lead, or you're going to pay for a lead, you're paying for an opportunity to make an impact in someone's life, make a difference, and be professionally the best person you can be. And the go-to person for whatever they're doing real estate wise. But the way to maintain that long-term is to be both professionally relevant with communication and personally relevant. And that was, we learned that from HOA, Harold Zillow. Yeah. But one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. And Mike Reese and I both paid him, I think, $4,000 a month in coaching for a long, long time. And we vacuumed up as much of it as we could, but he took all these principles and broke them down, and conceptually he was right, dead on. But today you can do these things, and that's what's exciting. Come here, goofball.
So yeah, I mean,
say hi, Cooper.
Oh, there's Stinky.
He's pretty cute. Oh yeah. So
Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper.
I'll tell you this, Jay. I think communication's been one of those things that I've been working on. That is definitely, like, I do not communicate like Jim. And
right.
I need, it's one of those things like going deeper, from a communication standpoint like this. If we're presenting, we can communicate very well from a stage. We can, from a podcast or from a webinar we're doing. I feel like our skills are there. But when it comes to just the everyday stuff, Cooper already has a fan. Her name is Melanie. Hello, Melanie.
Yeah. Yep.
But every day, like there's just people that have built that skill better than myself. But what I want to dig into, and I got to get better in that, and trying to get better, on a daily basis on that, because I'm kind of a short communicator. I'm like, yep, sounds good. Context behind that? Nope. Look, I'm good. So I gotta improve on that for sure. But
same here.
One more thing I want to go down with this is that something that we're kind of building. It's the next thing that I want to build out, and that is we're on Zoom calls, 3-way calls, so much, right?
Yep.
And our Zoom is taking these notes. The automatic Zoom note taker is taking a transcription of everything that's being said there. So what we're going to do with AI is we're going to have every single Zoom we do, we're going to have those notes are going to be carried over into our Go High level automatically into those notes. Then we're going to take all of that and have it create a customized follow-up campaign based on what they've told us, where they're at, their location.
That was the first thing that I had Jarvis do. So it was because I'm some days I'm on 10 or 12 Zooms, and sometimes I'll remember what some of the context was, but mostly not. We're capturing all of that. It's going into the contact record, and the customized communication is based on what their goals were. And so like I had I can't remember her name right off the top of my head. It might come to me, but she, I asked her, I said, what's your goal 5 years from now? And she said, well, I think I'd like to be doing half of cause she sells 70 houses a year. And she's like, I'd like to do half of, my time. I'd like to be mentoring and coaching agents, and half of the production, because I like the production, but I don't think I want to do both. So like to me, a perfect day would be like that. I said, okay. I said, let me back up the truck a little bit. I said, and I explained why I used to ask the question, if you have 50 million in the bank. And I said, the reason I asked that question is I think is you think differently about what you do with your time. Because in the current world she was in, I only see maybe me doing more coaching and less transactions, but I'm going to need to do something revenue wise. And so, but if you had 50 million in the bank 5 years from now, you probably would be like, okay, what would I might do something different. And so for her, no different than for all of us, she said, it was so funny because she didn't hesitate. She said, I'd be in Colorado and I'd be hunting during the day and knitting at night. Like I was like hunting and knitting. I was like, that's freaking awesome. Like totally two different things. But that's what her heart's desire was. I said, the thing I want you to understand about this business model is that if you have enough passive income coming in through revenue share, leveraged income, whatever you want to call it, you don't have to coach agents, or you don't have to go sell a house. You would do something different with your time. And this company is a vehicle to be able to deliver that. And that's how, that's what I wanted her to understand was like, yeah, we can help you sell more houses. We can help you build your coaching. But if your goal is to knit and hunt in Colorado and you want to do that 3-5 months out of the year, whatever it is, this vehicle can get you there, and we can help you do that. And that was, but again, like all of that conversation of everything else that she said, when we communicate back to her in the follow-up, it's taking that context of what was talked about and what's important to her, and it's communicating in a different voice based upon that conversation. And that was all, we ran into a lot of challenges with Jarvis and him doing this, but he kept running into issues with just the API of Zoom and the transcript. We couldn't get it to sync up and find it. It kept telling me the transcripts aren't there. And I'm like, the transcripts are there. You are not seeing them, but I'm seeing them. Stop telling me that they're not there. But anyways, we got it worked out, but it's doing it now. Yeah. So it's literally building a custom based on the conversation that you had with that agent. And if this is a buyer and seller, same thing. Obviously, you're not doing 100%. Zooms with all your buyers and sellers. Same exact thing. Well, you should be recording it. You should be recording the entire conversation. You forget half the stuff they tell you. So
here's what I'd be doing, dude. Every call, I'd be using that they have the magnetic thing that goes on the back of the phone now that basically it'll record both sides of that conversation with you. And it's automatically AI is taking it automatically into a database where you can then do what you want with that content.
Well, think about this, Al. So let's say you're on that listing appointment, and I used to go on 5 a day. So the odds that by the end of the day you're toast. I would write down most stuff. Some of that would make it into the database. Some of it wouldn't. But if you had that entire context of the entire conversation and everything that got said, and there's things that happen in that listing appointment where they say, yeah, we're moving out around the 15th of August, so we won't be here then. Like there's things that you may capture, but you probably don't, that with AI, you can have it bringing those things to the forefront. Hey, remember, this was super important to them. Make sure this happens, right? Or whatever, right? Or whatever their concerns might be. Or
yeah.
So yeah, it's just like having, the ultimate brain that remembers everything and can help you do a better job. And that's where, either it's not just using ChatGPT to use it to answer a question. By the way, dude, on Codex, we should have probably led with a little of the AI stuff with the headline. But so I'm watching, the podcast I watch, which I recommend everybody watch. I watch the All In podcast with Shamath and those guys, and I watch the Peter Diamandis Moonshots. And in there was just this one part I was listening. I was, I always have something playing in the background. I'm listening to it. And he's talking about Codex. And I started using Codex, which is ChatGPT's, agentic version. And it's pretty good, but I've got all of them. I've been using all of them, but I'm using this Codex, and it says, if you use /goal if you just put /goal in Codex, and it's a free download. It works with your ChatGPT, whatever you're paying. You can just download Codex, and it's an app on your computer. But if you use /goal, dude, it breaks down everything as if you were doing a strategic plan. Now, ChatGPT knows everything about our business and everything that we do. So it has all of this context about, what we're doing, how we're attracting agents, using Funnel Pilot, all of that. And it breaks down. Now, so my goal by the end of this year is to be at 1,000 agents a month, recruiting 1,000 agents a month. It reverse engineered an entire plan for how to get there and what the business assumptions were, what all things we need to be able to do. And I mean, it's incredible. And so instead of, I've never, it would have taken a really long prompt for me to get to this level of clarity. But if you use /goal and create a new project inside of inside of Codex, which is ChatGPT, uses your subscription. So download Codex, CODEX, and do /goal. It's incredible. It's incredible.
And that's the only prompt.
I think my prompt was, I probably asked it. First, I asked it, I said, how does /goal work? That was my first question because I heard him say it, but I didn't know how it worked. And so he says, /goal is a planning shortcut. You use it when you want Codex to slow down, clarify the target, and agree on the plan before doing work, which is a problem when you're working like inside of OpenClaw. Like that dude just wants to go to work. Like, I mean, he is just wired to get shit done, which that's probably partially because of some of the things that I've said to him. But
right.
Sometimes I'm trying to be strategic in nature and not just like, hey man, we're don't go do this yet. I want to talk through it. And so this /goal is a way for it to slow down and say, okay, what's the strategy? And then there's another prompt that is it's not future pacing. It's something like future pacing. I'll think of the word in a minute, but basically it says, if this plan was to fail, why would it fail? And it's looking at where all of the areas that your plan might fail. And it's preempting you to look at potential threats to why something might not work. And I thought that was really good too. But anyway, so for those of you really geeking out on AI, that's a really cool one.
So it's Codex, right?
Yep.
And it's /goal.
It's ChatGPT's answer to Claude Code and OpenClaw and all of that. And it came out, probably a week, 2 weeks ago. And, everybody is saying different things about it, about which one they like. I just really like ChatGPT. And the new version of Chat GPT that they rolled out 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever it was, we're hearing a lot of, I mean, these guys, the smarter guys that are, they're smarter than me are saying that people really, really love Codex. I'm not using, I've got the agent set up, but I have to, I got to teach him everything. There's some things that make it easier to set up, but, we're so deep with OpenClaw and it gets so much shit done. Like I don't have, any need for like having 3 of these things right now, but anyway, yeah, it's another one to play with.
Well, dude, I love seeing how fast we're moving as a team, and it's just crazy because the thing that I want to add to that is what Jeff built. We literally have a coach, an AI coach that's coaching all of our agents right now on the recruiting side of things, and he calls it Alfred.
Yep.
Alfred, and absolutely mind blowing when he showed me what this thing does. We're about to, like, I know he's back there behind the curtain building it out for our funnel pilot clients, the ones that are, agents that are trying to, close an additional 2 to 3 sales a year. We launch them a funnel. Per month. We launch them a funnel, get them up and running. We're now going to have a coach that's going to be in there texting them every single day. Hey man, you got a new lead that came in to your database. It looks like they've come back to the site 3 times. Call this person, text this person, like literally coaching you, not like on some generic level. Hey, it's time to do a pop by. Hey, it's time to hit the phones, your call blocks here. I'm talking like granularly, like knowing how many leads came in, are you keeping up with the communication with those leads? Are you working into the database the way you need to? Oh, you're not. Here's the link, get in there and work it. Like, it's that level of,
dude, when you think about it, when you think about what we had to do with our daily accountability and our daily rhythm and huddles with teams and holding agents accountable, to get them, to maximize your agent, your per agent productivity on a team, it's better than you because it scales. And so your ability now to have 50 or 100 agents on your team without the loss of, it's the rule of 7, right? 1 leader can lead seven people. That's not necessarily true in teams. I think people try to really expand that role. If you have a sales manager, they can manage 100 people. Well, they can't really do it effectively. So it's better. I mean, we're watching this happen. Oh shit. I got to jump to a call. Yeah, I knew we went long, but I forgot I had a call coming up. So yeah, your ability, that's just one way that it's doing it based on your goals and your reasons. So it's like, hey, you said you want to make X amount of dollars a month. You got a new lead that came in. Hey, you said you were gonna you were gonna do this. You need to update this record. Like, it's just coaching them on the things that you'd have to be looking over their shoulder all day to do. And and it's helping identify metrics where, hey, your metrics are below what we consider the standard. And you should jump on this call and get trained on what you're saying on the phone. It's just giving us the insights and the touch points to help people get to success without, having you'd have to pay someone $1,000 a month to coach you on all of these things. And they're never going to see every detail like this. And so it's going to help. It's tremendous. It's fabulous. It really is. And we're already doing it.
It's a KPI coach. It's a KPI coach that's going to do 10x better than if you were to pay a coach $1,000 a month to try to hold you accountable, because it's in real time daily. It's awesome. I know you got to jump, my man. Hey, we are going to go. I'm going to leave everybody hanging a little bit here. We're going to have a special episode that we're going to do maybe this week, maybe next. And it's going to be on the biggest problems with MSAs. That's market service agreements between brokers, team leaders, and agents and LOs. We have all the good, bad, and the ugly with those types of relationships. We do have a solution for it. I know we've been teasing it a lot. It's Cooperate. We're excited to talk about it, but I want to talk about what the biggest problems. I mean, we were just, there was an agent in, I believe, Arizona that was being sued because of an MSA went wrong. And we're seeing lawsuits flying everywhere. And a lot of it all surrounds around the problems in the relationship, the misalignment that's created by market service agreements between lenders. So I'm going to leave you guys hanging on that. Appreciate you joining, Jay.
Yes, sir.
We gotta get on a call. We'll see you guys at the top.
See you at the top.
Have a great week.